why can't I do something like this too? Like, why it's not available for general people? So I was like, okay, let me just see if I could crack it myself.
Welcome to episode 8 of Tool Use. Tool Use is a weekly conversation about helpful AI tools where we teach you what is possible today by showing you real examples that we put together. We also talk to other AI makers to share their perspective and experiences and help spread the knowledge. This week, we're focusing on front ends for AI. I've never been much of a front end guy myself, but I've come to realize not everyone loves the terminal, so no better time to learn than now. I'm Mike Bird, talking with Ty Fierro, and this week we're joined by Dillion Verma, the creator of MagicUI, which is a gorgeous set of UI components for design engineers. It's free, it's open source, which you know we love around here, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So, Dillion, super happy to have you on. How you doing?
Doing good, Mike. Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here and share you guys I guess my AI workflows and how I use that right now. I'll give a bit more background about myself too. I think that'll be helpful. So a bit more about me. I used to be a software engineer, studied computer science in school, worked at a bunch of big tech companies. And then after graduating, I worked at a startup for a few months and I quit my job to go full-time into bootstrapping software businesses. So my most latest business that's been taking off is called MagicUI. It's an open source library to build UI that are gorgeous and have animations and micro interactions. And we also provide templates for businesses to build websites as well.
Amazing. And I was checking out the catalog today, and there are some really good components. Like, it's those type of things that you see floating around the internet already. Like, oh, this person uses MagicUI, I know it.
Yeah. It's really cool for me to see those too. Actually, I've seen a bunch of sites pop up, especially on like Product Hunt and Hacker News. It's really cool to see the effects in the real world.
Templates were a great idea too. It seems like it would just be super easy to try one of the templates and just kind of have a beautiful website just right off the bat. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a nice fit there. I think businesses really enjoyed the templates part of it. It saves a lot of time and resources. Instead of having to like pay for a designer or a developer, you can just use the template and get going straight away. Also works well with Cursor too. You can just tell Cursor to change things up and it just like changes them up nicely.
Being someone who's like bootstrapping, going your own path, you gotta figure that things like efficiency and trying to like amplify your work are pretty important. What type of AI tools do you use in your general workflow?
Yeah, good question. So my biggest tool I use right now would be Cursor. I've been using it actively for about 6-7 months since like early this year. It's just been like a huge productivity boost. Before I used to take a lot of time doing small, mundane like data changes or hard coding some things, but now like select all the file, tell a prompt, and very quickly I can change things up on the fly. Biggest one for me is Cursor. After that, I've been using V0 a lot recently. V0 is really good for generating UIs in particular, and I prefer that over Cursor for UIs because I can preview the UI, and V0 is optimized specifically for generating UIs using popular libraries like ShadCN and some others as well. They provide really good standards and defaults. So yeah, those are the two main AI tools. My favorite model of choice right now is the Claude Sonnet 3.5 for Cursor. That one's really fast and generates good results, good outputs. No other AI tools right now, I think, for development.
Yeah, and we were actually talking last week about this, and it's true where even though there seems to be infinity tools, there's a core set of ones that people use reliably, Cursor being one of the big ones. But yeah, we're trying to help allow people to build their own little tools just to try to increase the amount of AI to help them out.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a good idea to like share these lists, like people, what tools they use. It's helpful for specific niches of like what work you do.
I kind of have a general kind of UI question for you. So I love React. I've spent a lot of time in React. Recently, we've kind of switched over to Svelte and been learning a lot of Svelte and having a lot of fun with SvelteKit. But Cursor or not Cursor, but Claude 3.5 Sonnet, GPT-4o, it's very clear that they prefer React and they understand React way more than they do Vue or Svelte or really any of these other front ends. Is there a reason why you built MagicUI in React, or kind of what's the why do you think React kind of won the AI race?
Yeah, good question. I think like over the past few years, the industry has just converged towards React. Like especially like when you're hiring, it's very easy to just get people with React experience as opposed to Vue and Svelte. So one of the main reasons why I chose React for MagicUI was because I assumed there would be a broader audience and broader use case as opposed to doing it in Vue or Svelte. It seems to turn out well so far. There's a lot of people using MagicUI because it fits nicely within the existing workflows and ecosystem and libraries like ShadCN and Radix UI, other ones too. And yeah, I think like there's just like a lot more of a compounding multiplier for React in terms of the data set available that the models were trained on. So there's just a lot more better outputs for that too, from what I understand. Yeah.
Nice. When you make a new component, is it just kind of gut feel? You see something that inspires you on the internet, so you decide to just make a component for it, or do you like engage with customers and see what they're looking for? Like, how does your component library grow?
I can go a bit into like how it started. That might help as well. To like give like the origin story. I was previously building another product and launching that, and while doing that, I realized I wanted to improve the landing page of my product, but there were no other libraries out there that were giving me what sort of style or effect I wanted. In particular, I was inspired by the Linear website, so I can like share a link with you guys. Linear.app is the website. They have a bunch of these gorgeous animations, micro interactions, like really good design sense and style. And I was pretty inspired by that. Like looking at that, I was like, wow, this is like a very professionally done website. Why can't I do something like this too? Like why it's not available for general people? And I looked around the internet for like a couple hours, couldn't find any single library or tool or even guides or tutorials how to do this. And this is back in June of 2023. So just like about a year and a few months ago. So I was like, okay, let me just see if I could crack it myself. And that's when I started building a library full of these like animated components, which were small sections or subsets of other websites that I've seen that had like a really good design style and language. And over time, it compounded to becoming MagicUI, which is like a collection of all these little snippets you can use to improve your website in the present. Well, so present day, actually, it's based off of instinct and also what users request. It's a mix of them. So we have a bunch of people who are requesting components and like giving contributions to our GitHub repo. So we're looking off of those ones. But also there's like a set of, I guess, widely used animations and effects that should be, I guess, components available that I go build as well. And for that, I have like a list of sites which I refer to, which are like my personal design inspiration or standard that I try to set and achieve for myself too.
I love that. I have a kind of another general question of, I'm a front-end person too. I started front-end, learning more back-end, spend more time in back-end now, but I love front-end. But every front-end person I ever ask about like the future of what like generative UI is, I get different answers, which I think is really interesting. Like, I think we all kind of agree that generative UI is coming. Like, AI will make experiences for us based on our preferences and our tastes, but I'm curious to hear kind of like what your thoughts are on where generative UI is heading and what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, so far looking at the trend right now, I do definitely think generative UI is coming. I think it's already here in the early stages. Like V0 is a very good example of what it could potentially look like. And extrapolating more, like you can just put in a prompt and get a website. That's like the best ideal case. So looking forward, it seems like everyday consumers would be able to just like talk to an AI and build a website for themselves. And eventually like it'll converge towards higher quality websites as well. So based off that, yeah, I think it's here to stay. I think it's going to improve over time. At the current state, it doesn't have a good design sense from what I'm seeing. Like there's things that are individually pieced together and they sort of work, but as a whole, it's not there yet. But I think it'll just improve over the next 6 months to a year.
Another interesting thing with generative UI is like there's the website aspect, but I wonder if generative UI goes past websites too at some point, where maybe computers of the future don't come with apps, but apps kind of like generate on the fly for you based on the things you want to use for it. Maybe that's too wild, but
I see.
I feel like there's some cool stuff coming, maybe with AR and things like this too, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, I mean, I wonder where front-end engineers fit into the picture here. I think that there's a lot of, obviously it's not replacing our jobs currently, and I don't think it really ever will replace all of us, obviously, but I'm kind of curious if you have any thoughts on where we fit in that future.
I think the jobs will be here to stay for front-end. I think they just evolve a bit. So instead of doing the work manually, you're going to be like prompting the system to do the work. Yeah, I don't think the jobs are going to go away or get affected too much, from what I understand. I think ShadCN and like the Lego block style stuff that V0 provides is very useful because they built some foundations for theming and variables and some constants which can be changed and triggered and reused in ways to adapt to your own style in the future. So for example, if you're building your own design system, you could actually do a lot of that design system work with the ShadCN default variables and constant by just like changing some of the values for your own system. That's very cool because an AI can also change that too, and you can make your own unique design system with V0 and with those variables. I think like they've done a good job in that direction. In the general sense, I don't know. I think I still have yet to see examples of like LLMs or systems building UIs with just like raw CSS and raw styling. Haven't seen any with good design sense yet. I think the variables and constants definitely help. Like the Lego blocks definitely help piece together the larger system.
Yeah, I haven't even seen one that's good with color palettes. Whenever I ask for some type of color scheme, it's always like the basic Roy G. Biv, but never really getting into things that are very complementary. Do you see that something that is improving, or do you think that's out of the realm of LLMs and something that we'll need the designer to kind of keep the focus on?
Yeah, one thing I guess is a bit more philosophical as well. I think good design is just like a set of rules and constants, and I think color palettes are an example of that too. Like it's just like a set of variables, constants that you use throughout the entire site, like primary colors, secondary colors, accents, etc. And you don't have much variability or uniqueness. I think every design system can be reduced to a set of these variables, and therefore you could probably also just generate any theme or any style in the future with that. But present day though, I also agree with you. I haven't seen any systems do color palettes like well yet. It might be because it's not the focus yet for these systems. It might be like more of an end goal, but I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
So you're saying there's hope for me.
Absolutely.
Constraints can help with design for sure. I mean, like thinking inside the box sometimes is way more helpful than thinking outside of the box, because if it kind of helps constrain your thinking, and I'm sure that's the same way with LLMs. That's really interesting.
Yeah, like I guess more specific examples of these rules or these boxes are like, what is the padding for all elements? What is the radius, border radius? What is the shadow for all elements? And these are different rules that can be encoded for your design system.
That's why Tailwind sites just look generally so much better than standard CSS, because people just use whatever arbitrary pixel values they want on padding, and it ends up looking all sorts of not consistent. So I think Tailwind's done more for the design industry than most things.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Good standards, good defaults.
100%. All right, Dillian, let's see your workflow for V0. I'm super curious how you use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll share my screen and I'll go over some, I guess, intro notes before I get into the actual demo as well. So a couple of things. The V0 website has a system prompt, which is available, and you can actually read the system prompt. Someone just did some reverse engineering and extracted that. I think this is helpful to look at a first glance, just to give like a general idea of the capabilities and limitations of the current version of V0. So a couple of things that I realized from looking at this are like what types of libraries are supported, and I guess what things V0 will be better at generating compared to others. Another thing that will be useful to look into for V0 is to look at examples of other generations and seeing the prompts that they've used to generate those. I got a lot of insights about how to make my generations better based off of, for example, this list of generations here, posted by the official V0 account. Cool. Aside from that, a couple more small things, and we'll go right into the demos. I've always noticed that images are better than text prompts for V0. So if you have a reference image, just paste it in there, and it will probably be a more accurate result. One change or request is better than multiple changes, and technical or specific word choice is more generally better than like a more vague word choice. Example of this is like, instead of saying like change the theme to a retro style, you could be more specific, like use XYZ color codes and these palettes and stuff, and then you'll just get better results. I'm sort of open to do a demo for anything right now. What do you guys think would be like a good sort of project that would be helpful for your audience to know about?
How about a landing page for tool use?
Okay, landing page for tool use. Okay, that's actually a good one. Let's go with that one, and we'll build that. So, one thing that I want to preface, I wrote some notes about that here as well, is it's helpful to know the structure of a landing page or skeleton. This helps like define all of the unique parts and like easily reference them when you prompt the LLM to change them. So I have a small image here which describes a general skeleton of all landing pages. So all landing pages are composed of a navbar, hero, some sort of social proof elements, some call to actions, features, and then a footer. And here's like a visual of that. So we're going to reference this sort of these wordings and this jargon to like make a landing page. And one more thing for landing page as well is, since I mentioned that it would be good to use an image, I actually selected like a Figma file here already, which has a bunch of landing pages that we could use to generate the first version of our website. So just for some context, this is a Figma UI kit called Untitled UI by a great designer. His name is Jordan. You should go check him out on Twitter. But yeah, we'll go right into this. So if you want to build a landing page to showcase tool use, let's find some example that looks relevant-ish to start. Let's see.
What a collection.
Yeah, it goes really, really in depth. He has like light mode and dark mode as well. It's very well done. It's very, very, very well done. I think he's been building this for like 3-4 years now already. I sort of like what's going on. Let me just see here. This one looks pretty good. Either this or this one, or do you guys see anything that you guys liked as well? If not, I can just go with like the second one here.
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay, cool. Let's go with this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and just screenshot the first few sections. Let's make this a bit bigger. We'll get these two. And make me a landing page to match the reference image. So I'll go ahead and give it the base image, and this helps get like a basic scaffolding going, and then we could add more to the bottom of this. So I already got that section. I'm gonna get these sections now. And the following feature sections below. Cool. And let's also get these sections. These are integrations and CTA sections. And the following integrations, CTA sections to the bottom. Oh, it looks like oh damn. This is one thing I feared. So one thing that I do that would prevent this. So what just happened here was I gave it a prompt, and it went over the previous prompt and just like skipped those previous instructions. So we have like this over here. Like it doesn't actually fill it in all the way.
It got lazy.
Yeah, it got lazy. So one thing I do is actually do sections one by one. But for this video, I was trying to do it quickly, but I guess like it's not gonna do the whole thing. What I can do instead for now is, let's see, we can take the previous section and paste it into like a project locally, and then I can like do the rest with this section as well afterwards. So I'll keep prompting it, and then I'll copy the sections over to a project afterwards. So let's do that approach. Below the previous section. As you can see, some of the generations are actually pretty accurate compared to the reference image. So like for example, this feature section, like got the colors right, got the layout and the check marks, everything right. It's looking pretty good already. I think it just probably needs like a few more small tweaks. But yeah, we'll get to that too.
Does V0 have version control? Like, are you able to make changes then revert back, or is it kind of just producing an artifact that's constantly changing?
Oh yeah, it does have version control. So
Nice.
If you want to go back to the previous versions, I think there's like a button right over here. You can go back to the previous generation over here, V2 or V1. I guess I'll click on that once this is done. there you go. Yeah, here's V2, here's V1. So we got like our hero section, our feature sections, and then our integration sections. Cool. This is looking good. Let's just wrap it off with the footer, and then we'll iterate on what we have so far. So footer, take section, make me a footer section to match the reference image. Cool, I'll start moving these over to a project now. So I'll quickly show that workflow for that too. I'm gonna make a new
doesn't
folder.
V0 have like an export thing where you can like export it as like a shad CN component of sorts? I think it's super cool.
Yeah, it does have that. It's also very, very, very helpful actually. You can bootstrap projects very quickly with that. So I'm gonna make a new E0 demo 2. We'll just go into that. Cool, we made a new project, and oh wow, this is looking really nice already as well. I'm gonna go and create a new Next.js project just because I'm most familiar with that, but I'm gonna open this in Cursor. Cool. I always forget the commands. I'm gonna tell Cursor to make me a new Next.js project with, I think it's a bit bigger as well, npm app directory, ESLint, prettier, TypeScript. I think that should be all the things that I need. Nice, that's the one I want. So we'll create that. Yes, yeah, that's fine. Cool, I'm also gonna run this. This is just npm dev. And also just add shadcn to this as well. Shadcn init. Cool, this should add shadcn. And now that's all we have. That's all I think. We can start adding in these components one by one. So let me go back to our hero section. Can just get the code for this. There you go, this is the command. So we'll add the hero section here like this. And I'll head over to localhost 3002 to check out the demo so far. But let me just see how it's looking.
A true front-end dev with 2 busy ports on 3000.
You already know, yeah. There's a bunch of Next.js servers hogging my memory locally.
Yeah, I bet.
Let's do landing page component. Actually, it's kind of messy, but I'm gonna go ahead and just take this and just put it into our main page right here. Awesome. Cool. I'm doing a bit of like manual changes here, but this is just to get the basic app started, and then we'll copy over some of the components we just generated. Cool. So let me go back to localhost 2002. Nice. So we have our website already running. We have like a basic header, hero, some stats and stuff. And let me go get the rest of the sections. So V2. This one looks good as it is. I'm just gonna take it as it is. So I'll copy
Man,
this.
something like this would have taken me like a day, 2 days to do a couple years ago without any AI. This is crazy.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Like one component itself would take like two hours, so like 1 or 2 hours. But this like really speeds up the design process. I definitely feel the difference since using V0 in particular. V0 sets up a really good standard, like the base things that you work with. So we got a feature section. Actually, I'm gonna segment these a bit to make this easier. So we'll make a header.tsx, put the header in here. we want to use next link. Cool, and I'm also gonna extract the main hero section out too. This is just gonna be easier to consume. Hero.tsx. Yeah, like this stuff is a game changer. Like I would never be able to build these types of things this quickly without help of cursor specifically as well. Cursor autocomplete is really good. Awesome. I'll import image as well. Cool. And now in our main homepage, we're gonna just import the header, hero, and features that we just made. Nice. This should be our site now. So let's go back to localhost 2002. Oh, we have an issue here. We'll fix this. Cursor to the rescue. Still some issue happening somewhere. Was it over here? Yeah, okay. Nice. Yeah, so we already have like a solid starting point already for our site. And we'll just add our last few sections here. So I think, let's just go with footer for now. Footer should be like enough. Actually, let me just see here. Yeah, I'll skip this for now, just for sake of like purposes of the demonstration. But I'll do footer and go with this one. We'll copy this, make a new component for footer, add that in, and import it into our main file here, footer. Go to our app. There you go. We have our landing page like already ready to go. A couple small issues we can very quickly fix with this. So like the image here is like missing. I guess I'll do it here too. So we'll go get that image. How should we get the image? Let me see if I could just take it from here. Yeah, they have a placeholder image here. I might just see if I could just save this. Nice, we could save the placeholder image. We could probably use that in our app. So I'll get that placeholder image and put that in our folder here. Make a new folder called public. Oh. So this is just gonna house the images. Should be at the root level. Oh. My drag and drop isn't working. Nice, there you go. Placeholder.svg. So I noticed that throughout our application, we have a bunch of sections which reference the placeholder.svg. So now that I've added the placeholder.svg over here in my public folder, this should hopefully render. So let's go back to our app and refresh. Nice. Yeah, we got some placeholder images there too. Cool. So this is like sort of what I do to start off and get like a scaffolding for a site. As you can see, this has most of the main sections that a landing page has, like the header, hero, features. Now, like the main step that I do towards the end, which requires, I guess you can either do this in Cursor or V0. I prefer Cursor because you can just keep prompting the same sections over and over again. But for now, since we moved over to our application and put all the sections together, let's try like prompt all of them in mass. So one thing I want to do is make sure that this is centered. So I'm going to go to my hero section and make sure the image is centered. Make the image centered and full width.
Are you always a Command K guy, or do you ever use the chat on the side?
Oh yeah, I use the chat when I'm asking questions, but for me, during my day-to-day workflow, it's always the Command K.
Nice.
Yeah. I think this could be easier. What about you, actually? What do you prefer?
I use the chat a lot. I'll tag entire files. Yeah, I've just found that's been more native to my workflow. It's interesting how different people are using it in their own way.
Yeah, that's actually interesting to know. And then when you ask the chat, does it change the files too?
Yeah, you can hit the apply button, and then you can apply it to one file or multiple if it needs to. You can also have it run commands in the terminal. So if you like have to run npm install or something, you can do that from the sidebar.
Interesting.
Then you can go wild with Composer too, and now take all of these different sections and change all of the copy to be related to a podcast around AI, and it'll just do it, and it'll modify like 5 files at once. You hit apply on all, and then boom, all your copies updated. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's something that I've been using a lot more, the Composer feature. As Ty mentioned, it's really, really good for like the mass file changes, especially for copy too. I haven't used the chat too much actually. I find like for me, my instinct is when I have a question to ask, I just go ask the chat. But if it's actually like application, I just go straight to the code itself and just do like the command K stuff. Nice. Very interesting actually. Cool. I think that's basically it. Let's just quickly see how everything looks. Yeah, let's do like a quick copy change. So we'll just do command I. Let's add all of our sections in. So we'll do at feature, what is it? Hashtag? Yeah, features, hashtag footer, hashtag, what is that? Header, we're missing. Header, cool. Update the copy on each of these sections to describe a website which lists, what was it again? AI tools or AI workflows?
Yeah, like a podcast that talks about AI tools and workflows. Yeah.
A podcast which talks about AI tools and workflows. Cool, let's go with that. So let's see what Composer does for us. Yeah, this stuff is like a huge value add for me. The AI generations in code. I think this saves like a lot of time. I'm really happy with Cursor for this. I think I get a lot more value than the cost that they charge right now, which is great.
Yeah, I found there's a few tools like that where it's just like, oh, I'm so grateful they're charging what they are because I would pay more and I don't want to.
Oh, looks like it didn't update all the files. Update the copy or text content for all the files. Let's try again. Cool, this looks more relevant, I think. Nice.
Absolutely magic how it changes all those lines at once. Man, it's crazy. What a time to be alive.
Okay, looks like I did pretty good, but we're still missing some things. Let's change the feature section again. Change the copy on the features section. Yeah, this is so powerful. I'm wondering what else would make this even better. Just like thinking off the top of my head. I think if I were to just able to like just talk to it as well, that might be helpful. I think like in general, humans are probably faster at talking than typing out instructions. I'm sure there's some tools or some workflows for this too. But if I could just like say like update the copy for the new sections I added, and like the sections I added is attributed to like the most recent components I added, like those types of small quality of life features would really compound a lot.
Have you played with Super Whisper at all?
Super Whisper. Oh yeah. I have it. I haven't been actively using it though.
I love Super Whisper. I do that, so I go into Cursor Composer and just hit Super Whisper, and then I'll just kind of like speak paragraphs to it for like a solid 5 minutes, and then finish it, and then it just takes this gigantic block of text, and it almost always handles it perfectly. It's wild. And like prompt engineering through voice is so different than prompt engineering through typing.
Yeah. What have you noticed is different in particular for you?
Well, I've just noticed that it's like when I'm typing out a prompt, it feels more robotic. It feels like I really have to tell it every single little thing that I want, and I'm like, make sure to do this, make sure. When it's conversational, it's kind of more like talking to a coworker. It's like, I'm not sure the right way to do this, but maybe we should approach it like this. And I don't know, it's kind of more conversational and more friendly, and it kind of really it vibes with that. Yeah,
it's more intuitive actually. I guess like it comes out naturally. You speak to naturally. It's nice that the AI can understand as well. That's interesting. I'm curious also to know about your experience about like how big of projects that you've done with like this type of flow where you just speak to it. Does it make entire apps? Because I've only done like file-based generations where I change specific files, but I haven't explored much of like the entire app generations or multiple files.
Yeah, Cursor Composer is just honestly pretty insane. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of just a lot of turns with Cursor Composer, and you make your own new little projects within Cursor Composer to do. I kind of just break things into, like, you can do full apps.
Yeah.
I think it's better to kind of do what you did here. Instead of making the full landing page, you did like 4 different sections and then piece them together. Same kind of
workflow
theme applied to making full applications. I do a lot of like Python CLI apps for demos on the podcast here, and I have it kind of, this is overall what I kind of want to go with. So let's build the bones of the entire app. Then it'll build all the structure and all the different files that it thinks we need, and then I can go in each file or each like section and kind of work with it iteratively. But yeah, it's just so fun to program with voice. So, yeah, it's super fun.
Damn, I like that.
My general workflow has been I'll go on to I'll go up to Claude, do the same thing to Ty, just like voice dump. I'll be like, but no code yet, just brainstorm. That gives me a bunch of ideas. And like, let's double click into number 2, explore that a bit more. And as soon as we're on the same page as to what we want, I'm like, all right, first iteration of the code. Spits it out. I take the artifact, put it into Cursor or NeoVim, and then I start iterating from there. So I'll actually be able to just like take the initial perspective from Anthropic and then move it into whether it's OpenAI or something else to get a different perspective on it. Because even things I've noticed, like a silly example, but ASCII art. Claude crushes ASCII art. Even O1 Preview cannot do good ASCII art. So it's just like each have their own different strengths. And similar to how like typing a prompt versus speaking a prompt, I find uses different parts of my brain. I find getting different AI perspectives helps like accelerate to get to the final product quicker.
Oh, that's interesting. So do you find yourself switching the models within Cursor frequently? Or
sometimes, but I still found 3.5 Claude is the best. 3.5 Sonnet is the best. So
Sonnet's the best, yeah.
That's usually what I'll do if I'm using Cursor, but even just interacting with like the ChatGPT website or the Claude website, I like going back and forth a bit.
Gotcha, I see. That's very cool. I'm like thinking of it visually now. It feels like there's like a entry point where you do like breadth first sort of prompting, like get like a scaffold, and then you go depth into each individual part where you want to expand more on. I guess that's like how I view it now.
This is a wild website that it just created. I'm really just reading all the copy here, and it's like we got to listen now with a play button. We've got episodes, AI tools, resources, subscribe. Like this is actually pretty impressive for. I mean, we haven't even been doing this for 20 minutes, and it's a full website.
Yeah, you barely touched any code. It's mostly just screenshot, copy paste, and then verbally or using natural language tell it what you want to do. It's so cool.
There's a lot of value with the screenshot thing in particular. Like if I were to just describe this with words, like make a feature section, it would not go anywhere close to this. But like providing the visual, Visa in particular does really well with the visuals and like matching the exact style, and even the colors too. I really like that as well. One thing we could do now in particular to like modify this as a whole is tell the entire site to use the ShadCN color theming system, and then go ahead and modify the variables, and we could change the entire theme of the entire site.
Are you able to take what you've done so far and then put in some MagicUI components?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can do like a brief demo of that too. So if you were to like add some more animations or effects to this, one thing I like in particular right now is like the rainbow button on MagicUI. So I'm going to replace the subscribe button with a rainbow button. So to do that, if I just head over here and just import the button. So npx/cn add https magicui.designs/r/rainbow button. This command can be found on the MagicUI website for rainbow button, but for now we'll just like go ahead and add this like this. Yeah, that's basically it. So we got the component added. So now I'm going to go over here and just change the button we have to the rainbow button. So rainbow button and subscribe. And I'm going to go to the header and also change the button here to rainbow button and subscribe. And if I go back to their site, nice. So we have like this animated rainbow button effect going on our site. Really, really cool.
Wow, that was so fast.
Yeah, it's very instant now, especially with the new ShadCN CLI. Like it's so easy to add like this, I don't know, like I don't know what to call it, like more aesthetic or professional type of designs to your app very, very easily. But yeah, shout out to Chad Sien for the CLI.
Super cool. Well, man, thanks for the whole demo. I mean, you've showcased why Shad CN is so powerful and why that took what, like 20 seconds for you to replace a component with a beautiful one from MagicUI. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah, they have a great system set up. Like anyone can make their own components, drop them in now. It's really, really, really good for distribution for these types of things.
How have you found users typically do it? Is the CLI the most common one, or will they go on to like the GitHub repo and copy paste? Like how do people usually use MagicUI components?
Yeah, I've seen a mix. I think a lot of the majority of use right now is from the CLI. So they just do like before we had a different CLI, but now we use the Shadcn CLI. But people just copy the command, paste it in, and it just works. But I've noticed some beginners come across some issues with their setup, so they resort to like the manual configuration to like copy paste manually. Yeah, the CLI is definitely the most used for sure.
All right, Mike, what do you got for your demo this week?
Okay, so like I said in the intro, have always been a back-end or an integrations guy, never done too much front-end, but there is one service that I have found very helpful at being able to showcase different AI tools or different APIs, and that's called Gradio. Now, Gradio is super straightforward. I did put together a few examples that I want to show just so people can understand the power of Gradio. So hopping over here, I just put together a little directory with a few different files. So in the Gradio examples, I just want to show basic image gen. So with Gradio, what you can do is you can hook it up to Replicate. Replicate is an online provider of models that is dirt cheap. You can get model generations or image generations for fractions of a penny. The really good models will cost you a few pennies, but it's a really cheap way to be able to rapidly test different tools. So I just one-shot it on Claude and got this entire 40 lines of code put together. So just to show you how it works, actually first we'll split this and then open up the terminal. Oops. Okay, so all it will do is Python image gen. It'll fire up a local server. Now, one thing I wanted to share is that, in the code, you can see I passed in the share equals true for the launch. And what that does is it actually creates a public URL. So if I wanted to have Ty be able to check out my thing and use my API key, he can go to this URL that shares. It also generates a local one, and I tend to operate on locally. But if we go to, actually, we'll use the Alacrity hints like I got last time. Escape, open.
Quick question: what are you using to generate the Claude? To generate using Claude? Is it straight in NeoVim?
For Claude, I just go to the website.
Okay,
Open up the
gotcha,
chat.
gotcha.
I have it on my browser. Copy paste the artifact. I would love to get into NeoVim. I've been having trouble with Abante lately, but there's definitely ways to play around with it. The default is, the default demo on Gradio is astronaut riding a horse, but if we do unicorn, makes it a little bit different. Send it through, and this is just making an API request off to Replicate, and bam, brand new image. And actually, when this hit me, this was actually really cool. Like, I was able to just write some code or prompt some code, and now I have the ability to just generate these obscure images. So we'll just save that one, save it to the desktop. And that is just basic text to image generation. Now, one cool thing about this script too is you can pass in a model flag. So say a new model drops on Replicate, you want to test it out, you can run the same script, quickly pass in the model flag, try the new one, and do side-by-side generations. So even though Replicate's got a perfectly fine UI, if you don't want to deal with that and you just want to test in the terminal, even if you want to test something programmatically, being able to just pass in a quick flag, compare the Flux Schnell that I have now to whatever new one drops is really quick and easy. So we'll get back in here.
Cancel your Midjourney subscription, huh?
Yeah, but why are you going to pay for it when I can do, like I said, pennies?
Yeah.
Next one, super basic, nothing overly surprising to people, but local chat. What this will do is it fires up a quick little chat interface that connects to Ollama. And Ollama, you know by now, I love it. It's a great way to host models locally so you can quickly test what's available in the open source market. This actually generated with a dropdown, so you can see all the different models I have. I used to have more, but I tried to clean up some disk space, and Llama 3.2 is good enough. So tell me a joke about puffins. And the first prompt of the day always takes a little bit longer as it warms up the model, but everything's running locally. We don't need the internet connection at all. Why did the puffin go to the party? Because he was an excellent dancer and wanted to foul-proof his moves. I don't know. I've heard better. So we got that one. And then going through again. Next one. I'll show these two really quick. Transform image. This one actually leverages NumPy, so you don't have to worry about getting an AI model. This is just using math to do some cool stuff. So we'll drag in the astronaut riding a unicorn image, and then you can say, hey, let's emboss it. And then you get to see the cool embossed feature. Maybe we'll blur it, drive that up, drive it to 200. And this, again, 100% local, not needing to access the internet. You can just start tweaking things. I just threw together 3 quick examples, but if you want something a little more complex, it's a couple prompts away. And last one I wanted to show you guys really quick is the real-time video. So what this will do is, once again, fires up the link. When I give it permission, let's do a color inversion. Asked to take my webcam. Might have to refresh for permissions. And there we go. We get a real-time webcam image manipulation, and this uses OpenCV, so this is also running 100% locally. So there's a lot you can do when prompting if you're unaware of these libraries or these options available that Claude will be aware of, that O1 will be aware of, so you're able to utilize the power of your local machine and not rely on these external services. And if you find something you like, if any of these things or something you want to explore more, Gradio allows a really fast interface for you to experiment with it. Like I said, if you pass in that share equals true value to the run, you can send it to other people. So if I said, hey, Ty, check out this demo, what do you think? I can send them the link and actually have them be able to test it. So overall, Gradio is a very easy to use program. And it's really just allowing people like me who don't have these design skills to get something up that's very intuitive and easy to use. So I've been very happy with it, and I hope more people try it.
Sweet, man. That's super cool. Man,
That's awesome.
that would make our scripts way more enjoyable to use, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still rocking the terminal, but I'll do this every now and then for visual appeal.
There we go.
One thing I was curious about based off of what you showed, I've been wanting to try the latest Flux model, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. I'm wondering how would you do that with the Gradio scripts? Does it support that?
Yeah, 100%. As long as it's hosted on Replicate for this exact script. But if you have it running locally, you can run it yourself. It just depends on how powerful your machine is. But all you'll need is access to the inference. And then all you have to do is update the script to have the proper model name and the location where to get it, and you can do it.
That's cool. I like how you can update the UI very quickly, like the filters or buttons and stuff in Gradio. That's nice.
Yeah. And the thing is, all these components are pre-made. It's open source, so it's not going for the high-value aesthetic. It's going for the practical showcase of technology, and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. It's great for demos.
All right, I want to show you my overly ambitious generative UI attempt with MagicUI. The goal was to be able to ask kind of what you did for V0, kind of make a V0 that is basically just using MagicUI rather than standard ChadCN components, and just create full MagicUI landing pages and different websites with all MagicUI components. Mm-hmm. But it's works okay. You'll see. It'll get some good laughs in a second here. But, so this is my actual... I kind of want to show you the code before I show you what actually comes out of this thing. Because it's... you know what? Actually, I'll just show you. Let's say an ice cream website. I really wish this looked way better, but you'll see. But I'll show you how, it's doing some cool stuff behind the scenes, and I think it could be tweaked to work way better.
Yeah, I'm curious to know.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice. Okay, so some sort of component wasn't found here. I mean, obviously some of this stuff is not working, but I mean, it did take in some of these components and actually used it. But anyway, this is clearly not exactly what we want to do, but this is a single prompt. Yeah. And it output all of this via structured output. So I'm just going to explain some of the code a little bit.
Here it is.
So I installed every single MagicUI component with a shell script, which was fun. So that was fun. So I installed all of them. I did Firecrawl, which is like a scraping website, and I scraped every document off of MagicUI's documentation, and then I had Claude make a giant list of them all. And so it made this giant list, excuse my markdown flinting here. And then I had to change it so that it looked a little better here. But yeah, so basically we have like a doc component, it says all the props that it takes, and its description, and then like the best use so that the AI kind of understands when to use it and when not to use it. And this is all generated from Claude. But yeah, I got all 51 components in there. And then I had all the components here, but I'll show you kind of what this is looking like. So actually I should probably show you here first. So I'm just using the Vercel AI SDK because it's just easy. But I'm sure there's ways to make this a little bit easier to do. But we have the stream object, basic system prompt, your UI designer. You have access to these React components. And I literally just pasted in every single one of those from the list. There's probably, like, I could probably do RAG or something to make it a little bit lighter, but oh well. Your task is design a landing page based on the user's requirements. Get idea. Use only these components. If you have an image URL, use this. If you have a video, use a Rickroll YouTube. Let's see here. Yeah, but always add props and things like that. It's basically what it's doing. So it's outputting this object based on this schema here, which is I split into sections, so it can make as many sections as it wants to. So it usually makes between 3 and 4 sections. Each section gets a title, and then it has a list of components that goes in each section. And then a component is basically the component it wants to use, and then all the props that go with it. And it's just like the key values that go with the component itself. And so it's just this giant structured output object of each component and all of the things that go into it. And then we get that sent back to the front end, which is kind of messy in here. But yeah, so basically we're going to submit our thing from the input box, and then we're going to get the object, we're going to set the UI data, and we're just going to render it just like that. And so when we render the UI, we actually do we're rendering the sections.
Oh yeah.
And then we're rendering these. Yes, we're rendering the sections, and then we're rendering components. I added an error boundary because a bunch of things were breaking because it couldn't pass in the parameters properly. But so anyway, this is the way it's literally just rendering components. If there's a component, get it from the component map up here and just render it out. And so obviously there's ways that this could be done better, but I think if there was multiple AI calls here, I think if you had one call first to like O1 preview or O1, that was like, I need a landing design, here's the different components we could use, and it made like a list of components and just had a list of components, and then it sends each one of those components to a single GPT-4o call that does a structured output for just the single component, and so it has a little bit more time and attention in each component it's creating. And then those get you back all your different components. And I feel like there's probably another step here that can kind of arrange all of these components in a way that makes more sense with Tailwind. But anyway, that's kind of my demo here. Obviously, it's not the prettiest. It's not doing MagicUI justice, but yeah, I was trying, man.
This is very, very cool. I love this. How long did it take you to make, like, the whole setup for this?
Probably like 2 hours, 3 hours.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is super powerful, actually, because with this, I guess it probably needs some like more prompt tuning or fine tuning, etc. Like prompt optimization. But like I definitely see websites like being built like this in the future. I think V0 does this under the hood too, right? V0 and the system prompt too.
Right. Yeah, it's something like this. I figured it can't be too hard. List the component you want to use, and then I'll just render it for you. So
yeah, damn,
kind of cool.
Love this.
I had to show you. Maybe I'll tinker around with it a little more. If I get it working better, I'll share it with you on Twitter.
Yeah.
Dillion, loved having you on. That was so cool seeing MagicUI and how you use V0. Definitely inspiring to make a lot more visually pleasing front ends. Is there anything you want to plug before you go?
Yeah, just if you guys are interested in more about MagicUI or my bootstrapping journey, feel free to follow me on Twitter or just check out magicui.design. I'll share links with you guys later so you guys can check it out.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. You guys are great.